Many of you have indicated a need for medical referrals related to psychiatric matters. Well, my new sponsor, ZocDoc, is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors who would be right for needs such as bipolar disorder, anxiety, and depression, or many other issues of that nature. ZocDoc has over 100,000 healthcare providers across the United States with all sorts of specialties inside of the mental health system, family medicine, and many other subcategories. So you can use the link that's below this video here, ZocDoc.com/Dr. Carter, and see actual appointment openings and choose a time that works for you. And in doing so, you would be helping support my channel as well. Just know that ZocDoc is a service that I would gladly recommend. Each one of us can have our moments where we have blind spots. For example, there might be that you'll express an opinion unaware that it may be stepping on the toes of somebody that's in your presence, or it may be that you misinterpret an event and you respond in a less than perfect way. All of us can be susceptible to that from time to time. When we talk about narcissists, though, we're talking about something much larger than this. They would have what we would refer to as narcissistic blindness or a pathological blindness, and it's an offshoot of their own lack of self-awareness. It's next to impossible for them to have any kind of healthy awareness of you because they don't have a good awareness and understanding of themselves. Now, sometimes they can actually have a blindness, if you will, to the way that they're engaging with you, when in fact they know they're doing something wrong, they just don't care. But many times a narcissist blindness is so long-standing because it's part of their coping mechanism that was developed way early on in their life, where they had this pathological need to defend themselves. They learned not to trust in other individuals. They learned that the world in front of them was not safe. And so they go into a very strong rationalization and justification of why they can be what they are. They keep certain things about themselves hidden, and they interpret people in light of their own self-protection. Also, narcissists tend to operate with what we refer to as a confirmation bias, and that is they tend to interpret events based on what they need to believe. For example, if they want to believe that you're a certain way, then they'll look for evidence that says that that's the case, when in fact it may not be very accurate. And then, in addition, we know that narcissism is defined strongly in part by their inability to empathize. They just don't know how to look into someone else's needs and feelings and make proper interpretations. So when a narcissist goes into their blindness, it's something that sets up all sorts of unhealthy patterns, and it's incumbent upon you to understand what their patterns are so that you can learn how to respond when they inevitably try to make you responsible for their lack of self-awareness. Let me identify 7 of the most common patterns that are the result of their narcissistic blindness. Now, the first one is they don't see what's good about you beyond their own transactional needs. Narcissists don't really see you as a relationship. You're there for a use or a function. And as long as you're functional, then that's okay. But then when you say, well, there's a personal dimension here that I want you to know. It's like, don't complicate things. I don't deal with personal dimensions. All I know is you're supposed to fulfill a function. Just stay inside your lane. Stay inside your grooves. And then when you prove to be too human, it's like, I don't know what to do with that. I'm inept. I have no ability. And so they blow right past anything that's beyond functional. Number 2, as far as patterns that tend to come along, and that is, I've already alluded to this, they have no capacity to ponder your emotions. For example, you'd like to sometimes say, hey, let's pause and discuss why you and I each feel the way that we do and have the needs and perceptions. That thought does not even cross their mind. And if you say, well, I'm feeling frustrated, then even more so, it's like, well, you're not allowed to feel frustrated. They don't know what to do when you have emotional reactions to them, because you see, they want you to figure out what the agenda is, read it, and respond in machine-like precision to whatever their needs are. And they're going to be happy. They can't process emotions. Pattern number 3 then is that they are also impervious to the pain that they generate in you. Let's suppose they've treated you in a very disdainful kind of way, and you're hurting and you're struggling, and you say something about it, and their response is going to be something like, well, none of this would have happened if you weren't such a screw up. And so you're thinking, well, so much of what's going on inside of me was teed up by you and your inappropriateness or your harshness or your meanness. And they're thinking, no, this is all on you. And they will not take responsibility for their inappropriateness that generates frustrations in you. A 4th pattern that we see as part of their their narcissistic blindness is they don't see the double standards that they maintain. As a very simple illustration, I would see this many times in my counseling office. It might be that to them it's like, well, if I get angry and yell at you, that's reasonable. If you get angry and yell at me, that's not good, because all they can think about is themselves. It's like, well, I've got my agenda and I need to push it. It's a right agenda, and it doesn't even dawn on them to think you may think something very differently, and so we have the double standards. A 5th pattern that strongly emerges with their psychological blindness is they show selective attention. For example, it might be that they'll come along with you and say, hey, old buddy, old pal, I'm so pleased to have you here. And they can be friendly and they can be helpful. And you're thinking, well, this is going pretty well. Only for you to find out that they need something, and that they're looking for favors, or they're looking for some sort of pat on the back or affirmation. And so even when they show good attention to you and seem to be tuned in, it's not. It's simply a ruse. It's simply window dressing, because they're wanting something, and it's part of their manipulation. It's not them thinking, I really know you and I want to respond based upon what I see. That's not part of the equation. Then a 6th pattern that emerges along with their psychological blindness is they refuse to come to terms with their own pathology. Now, sometimes their pathology is so glaringly obvious, and yet, for example, they may have addictions, or they may have wild mood swings, or they may be dishonest and have a lot of secrets and inappropriate behaviors. And if you want to point it out to them, it's like, if I've got anything that you don't like, A, it's none of your business. B, you're probably misinterpreting it. And they refuse to say, I need to take a hard look at myself. I need to examine who I am and what drives me and what's going on. Part of their blindness toward you is their unwillingness to take responsibility for themselves. And so in their mind, they're inevitably going to say, well, if there's a problem with me, it's your fault. I know I'm not supposed to say always, but it's pretty much always the way they're going to respond. And then, in addition, they make their own decisions and they make their own priorities without considering you in the process, whether it's in the world of work or in family dynamics or at home or parenting. They make decisions, and it's like they don't really consider what kind of impact. For example, it may be that they're gone for the day, and you have something that you need to coordinate with them, and it's like, hey, where did that person go? It's like, well, they just took off and had something else to do, didn't bother to say anything to you. Or they may spend money without consulting with you, or they may make plans or all sorts of things with no regard for who you are, because in their world, you're just a piece of furniture. That's about it. Now, in order for that individual to break through their own psychological narcissistic blindness, multiple things would have to happen. For example, that person would have to admit that, first of all, that they have blind spots. They would need to say, you know what, I am capable of getting things wrong. Like I said right at the very beginning of this video, we all have our moments. They'd have to admit it, which would be a necessity. And then, in addition, for them to get beyond their blind spots, they'd have to want to grow. And they'd want to welcome feedback and input from other individuals to help them in that process. as a way as a means of getting beyond their blind spots, they'd have to lower their defenses and say, I don't have to be in such a high self-protection mode that I can't know who you are. They'd have to see you and other individuals as having real needs and real opinions and real preferences that they might benefit from. They don't think that way. Or they would have to minimize their inclination to control. They would have to appreciate your privilege to choose for yourself who you're going to be. And then they'd have to prioritize relationships over functions. Now, I want you to think, as I just said all of that, does that sound like anything that a narcissist or the narcissist in your life is inclined to do? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. They see only what they want to see. They see only what services them. And if you come along with something that's entirely different, it's like blinders are on, and I'm not even going to pay attention to you because I refuse to acknowledge the validity of who you are. Now, I want you to think, how many times have you protested, sometimes out loud, can't you see what you're doing? Can't you get it? I know just the futility that goes along with that. And I'm sure there are many times it's just plain as day to me. And as many times as you make that protest, they're going to come back. And if they were honest, they would say, well, no, at least I'm not going to tell you. And so I'm hoping that instead of them being blind, and then they're leading you, hoping that you too are going to be blind, the blind leading the blind. You're going to say, okay, you can stay in your blindness, but I'm on to you. I see many of the things that you don't see. And if you choose not to partner up with me in terms of having awareness, I get it. But I'm not going to be led in my life by someone who's incapable of seeing the things that are right and best and wise and good. I'm going to go down the path that I see to be the best for me. Now, I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness of what you're what you're dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so. We're going to keep more videos coming in your direction. Thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. Now, you know that I have sponsors for my channel, and one of my sponsors is ZocDoc. And it's an app and a website that has over 100,000 medical specialists, and they can help you out with things like anxiety and depression and family practice kind of medicines. And so many times when you're dealing with some of the issues that come up with your treatment, with your interactions with the narcissist, you can say, I could use some medical treatment for some of the things that I'm dealing with. And so I'm so pleased to know that we have that to offer you. There's a link below that will take you. You get to select an appointment time, and they're very prompt in getting back with you. And it's my way of saying I want them to be my sponsor because it allows Team Healthy to remain healthy. How about that? Now, in addition to that, I've put together videos, video classes, I should say, and these are online courses. They're very extensive. Each one has at least 25 teaching videos, and those are, we have a tab for those inside of our website. And so please check out the courses. I put a lot of work into them. It will require a lot of work from you, but they would be highly therapeutic. Also on my website, I have access to my webinars, which are 90-minute presentations of a different kind of nature, along with my articles, my books, my podcasts. So we have lots of resources for you. I truly, again, when I say I appreciate you allowing me to be on your journey with you, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to help. Okay, narcissists can be quite blind. I want you to be a person that has a mind awake, and that you can say, I see things clearly about who they are and about who I am. And in doing so, I'm hoping you can stay committed to your healthy path, because the more you do and the more committed you are to your own steadiness, then it can take you further and further down the path toward your place of true peace.